with us? All right. So I want to introduce Shane. Shane's going to be going through Google Analytics. His company is called ThinkWork Media, and what they do is they focus on marketing for hotel clients, mainly small to mid-sized companies, and he helps them do all the marketing from the Google Analytics, Facebook Ads, AdWords, to the emailing, everything along those lines. And what I learned from him is I had Google Analytics and I have some advanced analytics in my background in the sense of Mixpanel, but I had some trouble going through Google Analytics, and it's free and they're always changing and optimizing, but sometimes it's super confusing. So I was really happy to have Shane kind of teach us this. So let's go, Shane.
Thank you very much, Tanya. And hey everyone. Thank you for your time. What we're going to do today is going to go over a basic overview of Google Analytics, and they're always changing stuff. So these slides are the latest as of the last 48 hours. I can't promise you they'll look the same next week after the 4th of July, but for right now, this is where we're at. So I'm going to go over, since Tanya already introduced my company, I'm going to go straight into our agenda. We're going to talk about what is Google Analytics, talk about some of the fancy lingo. We'll review the reports that are available within Google Analytics. We'll review some tips and tricks. I'll also talk about, answer some of your questions. And then finally, we'll talk about some next step opportunities that you guys can take. First, let's start with the basic premise. Most people have Google Analytics because it's set up by their developer, or they set up a long, long time ago and they never look at it. And they're just only really focused on the end result. They're like, all right, well, I'll know my marketing is working because I'll see sales. And I can get more marketing and more sales efforts up. I can get more revenue for my business. And what Google Analytics and any metrics in general helps you to figure out is where the leaks are in the hose. And so that's really why analytics are so important. Google Analytics is just one of the many tools that are out there. But what we want to try to figure out is how do we optimize our sales funnel so that way we're catching all those little leaks in getting them from being a prospect to being a client. Looking at Google Analytics, it really tells you three main things. How many people came to your website, where they came from, and what they did. If I'm going too fast through my slides, just let me know, Tanya, and I can slow things down. But that's really the basic three things that Google Analytics will tell you. The data in Google Analytics is broken into two main sections. There's dimensions and metrics. So dimensions are all the rows, and they basically describe their characteristics for your visitors. And metrics are all the columns, and those describe the measurements. Looking more closely at each of those, so some of the dimensions you may have are location. It could be the country, it could be the city. You could also have source medium, as in where they came from and what type of medium that's connected to. In here, you'll see that we also have some examples of browser types. You can also see gender, if that's set up properly for you. You can see language, you can see device type. There's a lot of different information you can see that's all connected to characteristics of a particular user. So those are all dimensions. Then there's metrics. Think of your metrics as a way of you measuring any particular dimensions. So in this particular case, we might want to measure sessions, and we our visits. So we'll say how many sessions there was, how many new sessions versus how many new users there were. We might want to look at the bounce rate. Bounce rate is something that a lot of people are concerned about. Bounce rate is when they come to your website and they leave right away without going to any other website, any other pages on your website. Conversion rate, how many people come to your website and then actually purchase something.
For the bounce rate, what is the time that usually is identified as a bounce rate? Is it like they bounce off 5 seconds?
You can set that by default. I think it's about 10 seconds. I don't know if it's 5 seconds.
10 seconds by default? Okay, cool.
But you can set that. That's a great question. I'll have to get some clarification around that. But we were just talking about bounce rate. And then the other thing is the conversion rate. There's also goal value. So if you can assign, you can set up goals within Google Analytics and then assign values to each of those goals. That's really good for if you're not working with an e-commerce website and you want to see, okay, well, each time the goal is achieved, it's $10 to me. So every time a goal is accumulated, Google, I make $10. And so Google can then say, you made $400 this month, which is equivalent to completing 40 goals.
So may we ask questions or should we save them for later?
You can ask questions, or do we, Tanya? Yeah, we can ask questions.
Or do you want it, because within, I guess yours is a little bit deep, or do you think it's going to cover? It's up to you. We can wait until it. You want to wait?
Yeah, let's just wait because I will go into each of these reports in a lot more detail.
Okay, and then it might answer my question.
That's a good idea because I definitely, because when we get into the questions, I'll probably be doing some live things there. So once again, we're looking at measurements. Measurements are all our columns. So in measurements, you're looking at sessions. You're going to look at you're looking at page views. You're looking at unique page views, time on page, entrance. These are all sessions. This information is incorrect, but we're just want to focus on just each of these columns here. Those are all the different measurements that we can have. Now we're going to go into each of the different type of reports. There's 4 basic reports within Google Analytics. You can access the reports by clicking on the right panel. And in this particular case, we're going to look at some of the information you can look at in the audience report. Audience report is essentially information about who visited your website. Here you'll see visitor sessions, page views. There you go. You'll see visitor sessions, how many users you got, page views. You can see some stuff like the bounce rate. You can also see demographics and also device types. This information is really, really helpful, especially if you're trying to figure out how important is it for you to have a responsive website. If you have a bilingual audience, it'll show you exactly what's the default browser type of that particular audience. So it'll tell you if it's really a good idea for you to have true translation on your website or if it's not necessarily needed. It'll also tell you where people are coming from in terms of what location they're from. Here we're looking at, just in the United States, we're looking at all the different cities that traffic could be coming from for this particular website. So here we see that a good amount of people are coming from New York, followed by Florida, California. If you're looking to spend marketing dollars and you want to be laser focused, of course, you want to focus in where you're based, but there may be second and third markets that you can also try to leverage based on where there's already demand coming to your website. It'll also tell you if you're set up with working with Google AdWords. You can also look at demographic information. Google gets this information through a lot of its third-party connectors. So in some cases, we can see the age of the users, and it also tells us the sex. We can also see the affinity. So if they come to our website and they go to other news outlets or they go to buy Broadway tickets, Google can let us know what some of the things that our audience is interested in beyond our website. Then that's really good for when you're doing Facebook ads, because then you can use those same affinities to then start targeting other things. Here we also then look at acquisitions. Now, if the audience report is who is on your website, acquisition report shows you how they got to your website. And in there's really 3 main ways they can get to your website. There's direct, organic search, referral, and there's also paid advertising. And so you'll see here is you'll see what the breakdown is in terms of what your top channels are. There's direct, organic, and referral, like I said before. You'll see exactly how many sessions were created for each. It'll show you some other metrics, such as what the bounce rate was, what the conversion rate is for each of those particular things. You can go deeper. So for example, say you click on social, you can say, okay, I see altogether how much traffic I'm getting from social. I want to see now specifically which which social media channels are giving me my traffic. And by clicking on the social icon tab, you can then go deeper and see, in this particular case, they got some traffic from Pinterest as number one, then Facebook, then Blogger, and so on. You can go even deeper and then into your social tab now with Google Analytics and see exactly which links were shared on social media that actually brought you traffic. So in this particular case, this fabdog.com link was shared, and it generated 154 sessions. Behavior reports is a really great report that a lot of people don't really pay attention to. Behavior report lets you know exactly what people were doing on your website. So when they get to the website, it'll tell you information such as what was the content they were looking at, as what were the landing pages. We're just looking at here, we're looking at behavior flow. Behavior flow indicates what's the first page, second page, and third page they looked at, and you'll see exactly where they dropped off at and how much they dropped off at. Really, really good for trying to figure out what the typical funnel is. For example, someone may come to the home page, then they may look at your about page, followed by your services page, and then we hope a request a quote page or a purchase page would be next. That's a typical pathway, but when you're looking at it, you'll see that there's so many other different pathways that people can take when it comes to the behavior flow. Okay, this is a better picture of the behavior flow right here. So we have what the landing page was, or the starting page, then the first interaction and the second interaction. And all this is available for you within the behavior reports. Another thing you can track is events. And so if you have, this is really good for if you have a very long you have a one-page website in where you don't really have a lot of pages, but you have different things that happen all on one page. You can track those events and then see reports on how many people played the video, how many people clicked the button, how many people clicked the read more tab, how many people interacted with the slider. Those are all custom events that you can set up in Google Analytics, so that way you can track just that information just as easy as you can track how many pages they looked at. The conversion reports is another great report that allows you to see exactly who made a conversion. Now, there's two different types of conversions that Google can track for you. There's goal tracking and there's e-commerce tracking. Goal tracking, you can basically set up to have Google track anything you want, whether it be an event, whether it be how many people signed up to fill out this form. Goal tracking is really the most flexible to figure out things. We have clients that we use goal tracking to figure out how many of them downloaded the ebook, how many of them filled out the form contact information. So that's really all within goal tracking. Whereas e-commerce tracking is set up directly to link with your e-commerce platform, and that is pulling the information directly from your e-commerce platform, such as how many sales, what the number of the sales, the product information, such as categories that was taken. So it's really set up to pull all the information from your e-commerce store and store it within Google. And you can set up how much information you want Google to take and store, and how much information you don't want to have it store. Okay, now here's an example of multi-funnel channel. When most people look at conversion tracking, they typically look at what was the last interaction that people had before they made a purchase. Google can also track the conversion path. So the conversion path shows you all the different things that person did on your website, or how many times the person went to your website before they actually made a purchase. So in this first example here, we see that the person clicked on a paid, then they came back via direct, so they would have typed in the URL directly, and there were 6 conversions here. If we were only looking at last click interaction, then you'd be like, wait, Shane, my Google Analytics, my Google AdWords isn't working, no one's converting. Well, if you're only concerned with last click, yes. However, if you see, we can clearly see that there were 6 conversions on six conversions here that were tied to Google AdWords. Down here, we had 3 more conversions tied to Google AdWords. And here we have, so Google AdWords definitely helps in this particular case for this client to get some conversions. It may not happen right away, but it's definitely something, definitely contributes to getting the person through the sales funnel. This information is really, really useful, especially if you're a client that has a very long sales cycle. For me, I'm business to business, so I don't expect people to come and purchase right away. First, they may click on an ad and find out about me. Then they may go to my social media, click on something from social media, then come back to my website to read a blog. And so there's a couple of different touch points that they may have with my website before making a purchase. A multi-path funnel is really good to figure that out. Another thing here that you can see is you can see time lag. So you can see from the first iteration to the last iteration. So if I were to look at if they clicked on an ad on Monday, how much time goes by till they actually make a conversion? And Google keeps all that information to let you know of all the conversions. 10% of your conversions were made within the first 2 days, or 10% or 90% of your conversions were made within the first 30 days. So that's a really good information to have when figuring out how long you want your marketing campaigns to run, because if you cut them off too quickly, that can hurt you. And if you're letting them run for too long, you're really kind of wasting your money in that sense. Google also allows you to look at your attribution modeling. I mentioned before that most people look at last click conversion. You can also attribute your conversions to say, I would like to look at every touch point that a user has this and give them the same value. So rather than give that $1,000 referral credit to Facebook, I want to give $250 to each particular thing that each of the 4 channels that person looked at before they made a purchase. And so that's something you can do within attribution modeling within Google Analytics. So I want to recap all 4 of those particular reports. First, we looked at the audience report. And the audience report really is just telling you who came to dinner. Next is the acquisition report. The acquisition report lets you know who told them about the dinner. The behavior report lets you know exactly what they were eating and how long they were eating. So that's kind of, if you haven't figured out by now, we're looking at food and the website. And lastly, our conversion report lets you know who chipped in to pay the bill. So those are all the 4 basic reports within Google Analytics there. Now we're going to jump into the tips and tricks. Our first thing that I want to share with you is UTM codes. So if you're looking at your source medium, which a lot of people already know how to do, and trying to figure out where your traffic came from, you may see that the first one that's always there is direct/none. Make that bigger. Direct/none in this case was 143 sessions. And direct traffic is when anyone types in the URL of the website and goes directly there. However, that is also where Google puts anything it doesn't know the answer to. So if Google is unsure where your traffic came from, it'll just say, I don't exactly know where this traffic came from, so I'm just going to put it into direct/none. And there is a way to help Google figure out better where your traffic came from, and that's with using UTM codes. So with UTM codes, what we're doing is we add a special type set of links. And so here, this is the link that this is our natural link, and this is with our UTM code. And in this case, what we're telling Google is the source is newsletter, the medium is email, and the campaign we're running is fancy email. And anytime that link is clicked, Google Analytics automatically picks that information up and stores it in the correct place. If you're using email marketing software, a lot of times that's already built in. You just have to connect Google Analytics to your email marketing software, so that way it's set up the proper way. However, if you're sending someone an email via Gmail, or just giving someone a link to place on their website, and you want to properly track exactly how much traffic is coming from that particular source, I would definitely suggest adding UTM codes to your original link there. And to make life so much easier for us, Google does have a generator for us, and it's free. Essentially, you go there and you type in the website, the campaign source you want to attribute to that, exactly what medium is it going to be, and then you can name the campaign, and it will generate that UTM code for you. And I'll just move this out of the way, and the link is there. I'll also make the link available in the chat as well. So I'll make the link available. Where is my chat? Okay, I don't know where the chat is. I'll send the link out when I send the presentation out to everyone. Okay, so that's UTM codes, and UTM codes are really good because it helps you to clean up a lot of the data and a lot of the stuff on your on Google Analytics. It doesn't help for any past data, but moving forward, it's really helpful. Now, most people don't really have time to look at Google Analytics on an everyday basis, and you can actually create reports, and Google can send those reports to you. Here's an example of, you can create reports based on the information you want to look at. So in this particular case, we want to look at revenue, transaction, and quantities, and then we want to drill down to see exactly what source medium they came from and the transaction ID. You can create these reports and you can look at them really quickly, so you don't have to click on all the different reports that Google Analytics has for you. And even if you're not really interested in going into Google Analytics, so this is an example of what that report may look like. And you can have multiple tabs up top, and you can segment it. You can also have these reports emailed to you. You can set it up to send to you weekly. You can set it up to send to you monthly, daily. You can also set it up to send alerts. So when a certain threshold is reached as far as the goals, or anytime this particular goal is achieved, send me a report, so then I can clearly see what pages they were looking at, or just get more information on that particular conversion. And this is a really great way for you to basically have that information in your email, in your inbox, as opposed to having it log into Google Analytics. It's a really great thing for marketers to kind of have at their fingertips, set it up, and have a discussion with their clients, such as, what are the reports you would like to look at on a periodic basis? We'll set it up so Google can send you those reports. It can send it as a PDF, which is really nice, or it can send it as an Excel document or CSV file. Okay, real-time reports. There is one other report that I did not cover, which was real-time report. Real-time reports allows you to see what's happening on your website in real time. Typically, it takes about 24 hours for Google Analytics to register information in all of the other reports that we talked about today. But real-time report gives you an opportunity to check if your Google Analytics is working or not. It's also located in the top left corner on the side where all the other reports are located. And essentially what it'll let you know is who's on the website right now. It'll also check to give you information such as what page the person is looking at, what particular keywords. We always use real-time reports to see if Google Analytics is working, and also to make sure that our UTM codes are working properly. So say you generate a UTM code, before you share that code with someone, you generate the code, clear your browser history, click on that code, and then go to your real-time report. And what will happen is Google will tell you exactly, will give you the source information and any of the information that you stored with that UTM code. So this is a really great trick for figuring out what's working and what's not working. You definitely don't want to wait a whole month to figure out that your UTM codes aren't set up properly or that something isn't working with your Google Analytics, because there is no way to go back in time with that stuff. Next is there is a mobile app that's available for the Google Store and the Apple Store. They work really well, allows you to check reports, compare rates, and monitor real-time data. If you're someone that's not really down for sitting around and looking at your computer, completely get it. You can get the mobile app for Google or for Apple, and you can see all this information right in your fingertips without having to log in. And it works for multiple accounts. So if you have multiple websites that you're tracking, you can connect them all to the Google app, to the mobile app, to then check all that information there. And we got 4 minutes to spare, so we got plenty of time for questions. I'll exit out of this and I'll take on some questions.
Great. Nina, do you want to start? You had a question before? I'll unmute you. Okay. I unmute you. You're good.
So now my head is so filled with everything else. So Shane, how much of this is stuff that we do ourselves, or how much, I mean, I'm kind of trying to, you know, a small business owner in particular, where we wear so many different hats, where in your opinion or in your expertise, is it best to, where it's totally cool to do everything yourself, and where comes the point where you're asking your developer to help, or where would you come in, and how do you work with your clients? Just to understand your world a little bit from a functionality point of view.
It's a great question. Really good question. Thank you so much. So typically installing Google Analytics the complexity depends on your website. So if you have like a Shopify or BigCommerce or one of those websites, installing Google Analytics is simple as copying and pasting the code from Google Analytics onto your, not the code actually, it's actually a really simple, this account settings.
It's the API, right?
Yeah, this the account ID, the UA code. However, in other instances, you may have to install the tracking code here. And so that, here's the UA, the tracking ID. So in some instances, for like example, if you're using Squarespace, you just need to use the UA code. If you're using WordPress, if you're using a plugin, you can just use the UA code. If you have a custom application, you might want to use the tracking code here. Wait, am I still sharing my screen? Sorry, I'm still sharing my screen.
Yeah. What's the PHP?
The PHP is for if it gives you an option to put in PHP into your website. You don't. Most people don't necessarily need it, but if you need to do that, you can put that into your into the website. But as far as what can a small business do on their own, installing Google Analytics is something you can pretty much do yourself. Setting it up, as far as setting up all the different goal tracking, it depends on how complex your website is and exactly what you want to do. You can do it yourself because there's lots of videos on there. If you're lots of videos on YouTube to do that. For our clients, we set that up for them. Right? And then as far as setting up the custom reports, or kind of having a bigger conversation about them as far as what these reports mean or what are some suggestions, we also do that for them as well. Because just having the data is good, but if you don't spend time looking at what the data is and trying to run experiments and stuff, it kind of doesn't really serve you as well.
So your ongoing relationship, in other words, is then with your clients to basically ongoing monitoring and interpretation of the reports?
Correct.
Well, he's also doing some of the Facebook buys and the ad media, like he's doing the buys, and then what he's doing is analyzing the behavior also.
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, so basically it's a whole package between like Google ads and Facebook ads and the analytics?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, we had to get really good at Google Analytics in order to then, thank you so much, Tanya, for clarifying that. We had to get really good at Google Analytics so we can then show value to our clients. And when it comes to ad spend and ad buying and everything, you want to make you want to be able to show exactly where the holes are and plug up the leaks. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to spend money, or if you want to increase the amount of spend, you want to make sure that that as far as the funnel is concerned, that everything is tight as possible. And then wherever they could be improving, whether it be the ads or the landing pages, Google Analytics is really good for telling you all that stuff.
May I ask another question?
Sure.
Sure.
So in terms of analytics, so I'm a video marketer. I know that a lot of the video hosting services, have their own analytics. But does Google Analytics allow for some video statistics? And if so, how far do they go with that?
It's a great question. It would be something that would have to be set up in goals. So essentially in goals, like I said before, that's the most flexible here. And so what you would need to do is figure out exactly what information that particular video provider can send to Google. Right, and then from there you can then tell Google, okay, I want to create I can create a custom goal. Admin. Google's always changing things. You can create a custom goal, and then you can then say, okay, for this, in this particular case, we're tracking phone calls. So we have a separate system set up to track and record phone calls. And we want that information to pass into Google Analytics. So that way we can then track the pathway of how a phone call was generated. And the same thing can be done for video. And you can say, okay, well, I want to track video plays, and I want to see exactly what they did before they actually played the video. Or I want to do an event tracking where I want to track exactly how much percentage of a video was played. The amount of information that Google Analytics can take in is all dependent upon how much information your video provider is offering up. So if the video provider has the information, Google Analytics is willing to take it in. That's definitely something you'll need a developer, or you'll need someone to set up for you. That's not like a out of the box kind of thing. A great question.
Okay, great. Okay, so it would like integrate with Vistia or Vimeo or something like that.
Vistia, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It should.
Yeah.
And there's already hooks for it, and you can definitely look into documentation on how to connect it there, because Vistia has all that great information, and it would be so helpful if you can just tie that in so that you can see the
right. It's one place, right? Awesome.
That does exist, but it does require some customization there. Any other questions? But thank you so much for asking like 3 great questions back to back.
You're welcome.
So Vicky and Elena, I know that you guys, Vicky specifically, did you have any questions? Do you want me to unmute you, Elena?
I don't have any questions. I was like messing around on my analytics while watching this, and yeah, I thought some of it was helpful. I definitely need to set up like goals, and my favorite part was the mapping, and so I'm going to try to dive into that this week and kind of see like the whole mapping thing, because that shows me where my most valuable like point of entry spots are. Yeah.
Yeah, the mapping is really, especially if you have a lot of pages on your website, it'll kind of show you where they're starting versus where they're dropping off. And I mean, most of the stuff is pretty typical, but it's just really good to be able to then kind of highlight. You can highlight a different path and say, okay, here's where they started out, and a good amount of them went to rooms. This is for a hotel website, and then so on and so on. So it's really good. So you can then start to build funnels and start to see, well, I'm noticing a lot of people are dropping off at this particular page. Do we have any links on this page? Is there a next step or any particular type of call to action?
Yeah.
So that's some of the stuff you can then take a look at there.
And I think another valuable thing would be creating like the custom UTMs. Because right now I have all this traffic going to my women's collection, but and like every ad is women's collection. But if I had specific UTMs, then I would know like which ad is converting the most.
Exactly. And with the UTM thing, it doesn't have to look as ugly as it looks there. What's really nice about it is that particular thing is there's a shortener there.
Yeah.
So you can shorten the whole link to something that looks a lot friendlier.
Smart.
Yeah, so with Bitly. So I know a lot of people like using Bitly, and Bitly's great, but it just doesn't get the information into Google Analytics as well as a UTM code does.
And where do I access that again? How do I do that for myself?
This is what I wanted to share.
Well, what you can do, Shane, is just send it. I'll send it to everybody.
Okay.
I'll send that link,
Cool.
or they just in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send out the PowerPoint there, and they'll have it in the PowerPoint
Okay, perfect.
presentation there.
Cool. And Vicky, who did someone else? Vicky, did you want to chat? I unmuted you, but I can't see you.
Oh, sorry. I'm okay. I'm on a bus.
Oh, okay. Did you have any questions or?
No, not now.
All right. Cool. Anyone else? No. Well, I had some. So can you go to, I'm looking at my notes. Can you go to conversion report?
Okay, I'll just pull it up here. Conversion reports.
Yeah.
What? Goals or e-commerce?
I think it was, I have it as my notes as conversion report. And then I guess it was in the slides.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Conversion report. Here we go. The moon.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then right here. So that was like, so how, can you see it now? Can I see it live? Where was that?
Yeah.
Where you went there?
Mm-hmm.
No, but I mean, on the website you're looking at, like on a live URL?
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so so we're looking at multi-funnel, multi-channel funnel, top conversion path. And here, so there's organic search and then direct, and some sales was generated from there.
And this is the attribution one that you were talking about, right?
No, this is basically the path. This doesn't give them the attribution. Attribution is down here where it says attribution, and then model comparison. And what this allows here, guys, is by default Google gives all the attribution to the last interaction the customer had before they made a purchase. But you can also do some other ones, which is linear.
Oh, wait, go back. How'd you do that? Oh, you clicked the button linear. Okay.
Yeah, linear. I clicked, by default, it'll be say last interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see linear. And what linear does is it gives the same, it takes the revenue generated from that sale and then gives it all to the same. Or you can say, you know what? No, I'm really interested in giving the first thing credit and then the last thing they did credit. Everything else in between doesn't really concern me. And you can do comparison to see. And the reason why that's so important is because if you look at this, in this particular situation, paid traffic, actually no, that's basically the same. Display, right? The cost per acquisition is slightly different depending on which version you're looking at. If you're looking here for position based, which is making it at the first and the last, we're at $62.43. But if we're doing it linear, it goes up a little bit more there. So you can see the little bit of difference there. And this can be done if you're using goals as well as if you're using e-commerce, right? In this particular client, we're looking at just an e-commerce. If you're using goals, you have to assign a value to each goal completion.
Got it. And so let's say you're logging in. I would love to see what you actually log in usually. What are the things that you look at? Because you can geek out on all this stuff, but then what is the really important ones that are moving?
It really depends on what I'm really looking to do for that particular client. So I really do spend a lot of time in the overviews sections of each of them, right? And then if I start to have a particular, and then I also look at it by a month. So by default, it's always a week. So I'll look at it by a month, and rather than dates, I'll set it to weeks. I'll look at the overviews for different things. If we're rebuilding a client's website, because we do that kind of stuff, we'll look at what are the pages that get the most visits. We'll also look at, and that's going to be in the behavior reports. Okay. So site content, all pages. We'll look at that stuff. We'll also look at, if we're looking at okay, well, we ran a campaign. What's going on with that particular campaign? We'll look at, of course, we're looking at acquisitions, and we also look at conversions. But if we're trying to figure out exactly why people aren't necessarily converting, or what's some issues there, then we start looking at behavior to figure out what our pathway is. So it depends on what I'm looking at, what I'm trying to accomplish.
Okay. And how do you set up the reports? Where do you go for the reports?
Oh, good question. I didn't say that. Okay, so let's go into, so you go to customization.
Okay.
Up top. And then custom reports. You can also have custom alerts, which is what I spoke about earlier, but custom reports, new report, and you can select your metrics and then the drill down. So you can give it a title here, Shane's owners up. And then you can select if you want the Explorer view, which is the typical view that gives you a graph at the bottom, sorry, a graph at the top, and a chart at the bottom. You can do flat table, which is just a table, or you can use the map overlay, which is more for if you want to look at geographical data. But most times, most people want to just take a look at the Explorer stuff, and you can select exactly which metrics you want to look at. So are you looking at e-commerce information, and these are all the different metrics here that you can look at.
And these are things that you set up, right? Or
Yep.
These are your goals.
Yeah.
So metrics are when you set up the goals.
Yeah, metrics are once again measurements that you would want to look at, and then dimensions under here. So I'll go back to one that's already set up.
Say like some people, I'm sure a lot of people haven't set up their goals.
Mm-hmm.
If they haven't set up their goals, what is their default? Do you know that?
If they haven't set up their goals, nothing appears. So
nothing appears in the metric group.
Nothing. So metrics will be there, right? But what they won't be, I have clients that haven't set those up yet. Let me just pull. No. Okay. Right. So by default, when you get there to overview, it'll just say tell you to set up a goal. You will still have access to create your create a custom dashboard. It just won't have nearly as much information. That's an older version, but it won't have. You won't be able to track things as goal completion is flat, revenue is flat because there's no goals or conversion set up there. Even if the Google Analytics has been set up for many years, unless you tell Google these are goals, or yes, I am running an e-commerce store, and you enable e-commerce tracking, it won't track any of that stuff. Is anyone on the site using Google AdWords?
I am.
Okay, so one of the really cool things that Google AdWords will give you if you're also running display ads, here, is it'll give you information as far as the demographics. So an audience, this is running here, I can see demographic makeup of age and of sex, and then I can go to affinity, or interest rather, overview, and I can see what categories. This is for a hotel, so it makes perfect sense that travel buffs are going to be big here. Some other things are going to, and this is based on after they leave our website, they have cookies on their information. This is the information that Google's third-party system gets, and because Google AdWords is connected to our Google Analytics, we get to also grab this information in here, and we get all this really great information as far as who these people are, beyond just this is user 11256.
Oh, cool. So you went to audience and then overview, and so I'm sure a lot of people here are thinking about what articles to write. What is the best way for them to figure out what they should start writing about using Google Analytics?
Okay, so what you would probably want to do is look at your behaviors and look at site content, all pages or content drill down. This is not a really good example here because they don't have a blog. FabDog, Insight. These guys do have a blog. All right, and what we can see, what we'll be able to see here is specifically which page title. We'll be able to see exactly on our current website what pages are getting the most amount of traffic. And by default, it's going to always be the home page, but you can open it up to say 100 and start to take a look at some of these other pages. Like, for example, 14 hipster dogs on Instagram who aren't anything but mainstream. That got about 12 hits, and you want to just kind of look at, if you're blogging on a regular basis, exactly how much traffic each of these blogs are getting and kind of where they're coming from, looking at the category that particular blog is connected to, and then you can start writing more content connected to that. As far as what topics to write at, that's not necessarily a Google Analytics thing.
So if you have AdWords, right, you can start seeing what popular words got it. So can you go back to that one that didn't have everything set up?
Okay.
Because I think that's going to be a little bit more with what everybody else is looking at, right? I don't know if but a lot of people don't have as really advanced setup. So I just want to see from that perspective, what can they gather with not having that much set up? They can see how many where the traffic's coming from.
Yeah. We in front of society. Yeah. So what they'll be able to see right off the bat is they'll audience. So even if that's a good thing about Google Analytics. Even if you've been running it there's a lot of information you still can see. Only thing you really will not be able to see is any conversion information, but you will be able to see language, where your traffic is coming from, all the stuff in the audience overview. Demographic information you won't be able to see. Well, I guess you will. Thank you so much, Google, for proving me wrong on that. They probably run paid ad before. That's why. But
I have a question, Tanya.
Sure, go jump in.
Oh, okay. So does any of this information benefit me when I'm running Facebook ads? So like the affinity categories or the in-market segments. If I'm on my history of Google Analytics and I look at my past month of sales, for the in-market segment, I've had 251 sales at a 7,000 revenue, and that's for travel and hotel accommodations. So like that's for in-market. And then if I look at affinity, my number one converting is news junkies, entertainment, and celebrity at 563 sales at 14,000 revenue. Can any of that be used for my Facebook targeting?
You could. Well, unfortunately, the affinities mentioned here don't connect with the affinities mentioned in Facebook ads, but technically you could, because essentially those are buyer personas, so you can essentially build campaigns around those buyer personas.
Okay.
Right, and then
what's the difference between affinity and in-market? I mean, because they're totally different. One's travel, and then the other one's celebrity news junkie.
Yeah, let me get to that section. Interest. And I should probably look at it from these other guys. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just. That may be. I may have to get back to you with that question, that answer. Okay. So, what is the difference between affinity and in-market?
Yeah.
I'll have to get back to you on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll have to get back to you on that one. That's definitely a question for my business partner. So I will get back to you with the end of the day with that particular question.
Cool. Awesome. No worries.
Shane, I'm not sure. Did you talk about UTM codes? I was like in and out. Oh,
yes, I did.
Cool. Never mind.
And I shared a link with generating UTM codes and why you want to generate UTM codes. But thank you.
Sweet.
Welcome. Anything else? All right. Okay. Well, I don't want to leave you guys hanging. We do. I do have. We do offer a service for you guys. If anyone wants us to help them set up Google Analytics, we can. It's $2.99. We'll install Google Analytics, set up the goal tracking or e-commerce tracking, depending on what you're using. We can set up your custom reports, and we can do a web coaching session of 1 hour just to kind of review everything with you. And then if you already have Google Analytics, we can review all the data that's already there, adjust and set up any of your tracking stuff, create custom reports, and you also have a web coaching session there as well. So then that's $4.99. So if anyone's interested,
what is an action, Shane, that you can do for it? Because we usually on the Knowledge Up calls, we say, oh, if you get this done within 24 hours, you'll look at something or look over something. So what can you do for that in a sense? So for example, Eric in the sales, he offered if anyone has a script, he'll look at it and review it for free.
Oh,
24 hours.
Yeah. All right, let's do that. Okay, if anyone,
something, yeah, you can think of something and get back. It just gets people with. What I like about it is like a webinar is the usual, but when you Owners Up, I'm all about action, right? So it's kind of getting yourself in that information and moving forward.
Okay.
And then all Owners Up members getting to know one another.
All right, I like that idea. So this is what we'll do. If anyone can give me access to the Google Analytics within the next within the next 24 hours, we'll review for free.
That's rad. How do I give you access?
All right, cool. So game on here. You click on admin.
Show me where that is.
Okay, so I'm gonna log into Google Analytics.
But do it at a certain time, right, Shane? Because I'm all about, you guys are all my members. I want everyone's revenue and time working. So just do the overview, right? In that sense.
Yeah, so essentially you click on, two screens here. Can you guys see my screen?
Oh, I found my admin, but now where do I?
Okay, you click on admin and then you click on user management.
Got it.
And then you scroll down to add permissions and just type in S Spencer at ThinkWork Media.
Oh, I think my husband owns this account, so I got to do it from his. Okay, so it's S
Spencer at ThinkWork Media, and you just give me read and analyze access, and just notify this user by email. And just hit add.
Great.
Then I'll get an email, and within 24 hours, I'll analyze it for free. After 24 hours, you'll have to pay, but if you got it, we'll do it within 24 hours.
Awesome. Great.
All right. Any other questions?
You're going to probably simplify and such, right? So it's not going to take as much. Cool. Any other questions, guys? Awesome. Yeah, everyone's good?
All right.
That's great.
Thank you guys so much. Right on time, just about. And it was a privilege. And take care. I'm looking forward to hearing and learning from you guys in the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shane.
Thank you, Shane.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.